What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel where it doesn't matter where you start, only how you finish. So today we're going to be working on our first coat of mud on our patch behind our door that was made from the door handle from somebody slamming it open. Happens all the time. It's very common. So the previous video will show how to make the patch for this area. There's a couple of items that you want to have to do a repair like this. A sanding sponge is very helpful. You can use a little piece of 2x4. If your sanding sponge is rough and beat up, chewed up, just take some sandpaper and wrap it around it. So for our sanding, and unfortunately this has got a little bit of wet mud on it because the first video I did apparently was not being recorded. So we have to do this again. So no problem. But so when you're doing your sanding, one of the first things I like to do is always put something underneath where you're sanding to help contain some of the dust. And this is this is 100 grit sandpaper. You want to use something a little more coarse to knock down your first sand of your patch spot. So I normally like to do a little up and down motion for my sanding. Maybe a little left or right motion, whatever works best for you. So get that sanded down. Then the other couple of items you're gonna need, but not necessary. So you need a 6-inch knife at least, or you can just get a 10-inch knife. This is more for taping. This is more for doing your joints when you're doing your tape joints on drywall. So what you want to do is, I'm using some pre-mixed mud. You can also use your powdered muds, 5 minute, 20 minute, 45, whatever. That does not make a big difference in a patch. There's different types of muds out there, which I'm not going to get into in this video. They're all meant for different purposes. However, for a patch job, your end results can be about the same with all of them. Some of them are easier to sand or harder to sand than others. The one thing I would highly recommend against for doing a patch, even though it's extremely hard, is a Durabond, because it's also extremely hard to sand. So what you want to do, so once you get your dollop of your mud in your pan, you want to give it a little mix. And how we do that, so you grab a little bead of it on the end of your knife and you kind of smash it in between the pan. Okay, it takes a little bit of practice. I've been doing this for quite some time, so I've gotten pretty fast at it. So you want to mix it up to get any chunks out of it, any air bubbles. And then with your initial coat, once you have your patch on, you want to just get your mud on the wall. We're not really super worried about smoothing it out. You want to have it like as smooth as possible for a final coat. So let's get this on here. It doesn't matter where you start as far as putting it on. I guess I like to start at the bottom and pull up. But one of the big things when you put the mud on the end of your knife, if you're a beginner, you want to roll it on and leave the spaces on the edge empty so the excess mud has somewhere to go and not leave a bunch of lines on your patch spot. So for example, if I were to grab this whole bead of mud and it's edge to edge, when I go to put it on the wall, you're going to get these lines, okay? So the best way to avoid that, and we'll pull some of this off here, is when you're putting the bead of mud on the end of your knife, you want to grab it in a way that you don't get it on the edge or pull the excess off with the edge of your pan like so. So now what you want to do, get your mud on the wall, bottom to top, works the best for this application. You could also go from right to left if you want to. So once you get a good bit of mud on the wall, you want to go back with your 10-inch knife. And I'm sure you could pick these up on Amazon for, 10, 12 bucks. Now you want to go back and pull off all the excess. again, from the bottom to the top, you want to be at about a 45-degree angle with like medium pressure pulling it off. And if you could see, this is always a problem. See, there is waves in the drywall or in the mud. So how we get rid of that is there's a little line here left over from where the wall and the trim met. So if you just take the edge of your knife and go up to the edge of that bead and pull out, that's one way to get rid of it. Okay? The other way to get rid of it, and you always, if you're scraping, you want to scrape away from your mud preferably, or you want to do it ahead of time. I don't normally like to scrape my mud or my wall once there's wet mud on it. But in this case, for demonstration purposes, let's go like so. And then with this right here, you always want to have somewhere to wipe it off. Another thing, in your mud pan, you always want to have a spot where you wipe your mud off if it gets little pieces of dirt in it or pieces of dry joint compound, because it will leave a nasty mark in your drywall or in your mud and you will not be able to smooth it out. But for this coat, it's not detrimental. So we're going to take our 10-inch knife, now that we got rid of this line, get that cleaned up, cleaned up, cleaned up. So the most important thing with doing a patch is feathering out your edges. So once I get this as smooth as I would like, I want to come back, and I like to put the mud on the left side of my knife and start to build up that edge just ever so slightly. That way it blends into your wall a little bit better. And once we get this all taken care of on here, this is all dry, I will make another video of the best ways to get this prepped for paint, so it doesn't flash through your paint as much, or it doesn't show as much, which behind the door is not a big deal anyhow, because 90% of the time this door is open going into a room and nobody's really going to see it. So finishing up this edge, again, a bead on the left, 45-degree angle, and I keep getting these little things in the mud, which is making it not be smooth. So this is just a piece of dirt, and it is a minute piece of dirt, and that's all it takes to get your mud to not be smooth. So anytime you have that when you're putting mud on your patch, you want to just use your finger and just get it out of there. And then if it's doing it, if you're getting a lot of wave from going from bottom to top, just go from right to left. And it'll smooth right out for you. So I'm pretty happy with this right now. I like how the edge looks. So with that, we will end this, and we will catch you guys on the next one for getting this prepped for paint. Thanks for watching.